Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Metal Mastermind. I'm your host, Ken Candelas, and today I have a real dear friend with me today. We've got Brent Ruddy from Wield and Woe, and more recently, Deoza, which is such an exciting thing. It's really great to have you here today, man. Nice to see you.
Happy to be here.
Tell me about, Wield and Woe.
Yeah.
What does that name mean, and where did that come from?
Yeah, so it comes from the world of Dungeons and Dragons. And for more information, I would direct you to my bandmate, who's more of the vision guy in this project. So that's actually kind of like one of the things for this band that is really interesting is it kind of started off as a solo project. And then Jeff Young, who's the front man and again, the vision guy for Wield and Woe, sort of brought me in late 2019, actually. So it has been a while. I've been working with that project for a bit. But yeah, initially it was just this creative vision that he had. And then, he slowly kind of started to open that up to others. So now it's, in terms of writing, it's primarily a me and him sort of endeavor. And it's me kind of trying to, write to this particular medieval style that he kind of
very cool
formed.
So it's folk metal.
Kind of really cool. Yeah. So I would call it we call it castle metal.
Castle metal.
Yeah. It's definitely folky. A lot of folk melody. I would say like if you had to put it in one of the bigger camps, it's like black metal.
Very cool.
So like medieval sounding black metal with lots of. In the past we did a lot with like lutes and
really,
and like traditional.
You play the lute?
No, I don't play the lute. Like using different VSTs and stuff that are more.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yes. Oh, well, yeah. VSTs are pretty powerful nowadays, man.
Yeah,
they are like unbelievably realistic in so many ways.
Yeah.
I work on HOMERIK, and that's all VSTs, and this is very interesting. So castle metal. When I think of that, I just think Castlevania.
Yeah.
And what a horrible night to have a curse, and all these kinds of things come into my mind. And medieval themes, I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
Dante. Is totally medieval. So you actually have an album that just came out in July.
Yep.
Right, July 5th.
July 4th.
July 4th, right on Independence Day.
USA.
Yes. That's kind of debatable nowadays.
Let's focus on castle metal.
No, this is good because this is actually called "From Far from the Light of Heaven."
That's right.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So is this like the story of the devil coming from God's grasp or something like that? Or like, tell me about what this album.
Yeah.
This is the art, by the way, behind us.
Artwork behind us.
Very, very cool. I love the artwork. So of the times.
Yeah. It's like very evocative of that time and of kind of like that time as remembered by more modern, artists and by us, and how like we think it's really cool to think about medieval times. That's not necessarily what medieval times were, but there's sort of like this fantasy around it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, the album Far from the Light of Heaven is really less about anything on like a actual spiritual or religious sense and more of a personal one. So like even just, as a musician, as a touring musician, you're going out and you're doing this thing, and what you're sacrificing when you do that, you go on tour, you spend hours practicing. What you're sacrificing is sort of spending time with your loved ones. And so for Jeff, the title kind of came from being on tour and just like really missing his wife and his loved ones. And I definitely feel that as well when I'm on tour. And so it's kind of like what you sacrifice in pursuit of glory or pursuit of, this project or this,
Yeah, you venture off onto, I think of it like a quest.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
This quest brings you far from home. And these are stories that go all the way back to Homer and the Odyssey and being far from the light of heaven, so to speak. I see.
Right.
That's very interesting. And it's a very beautiful message too, because I think in some ways we have to appreciate what we have. And I think there's no better way to actually do that than be away from it.
Yeah.
And then finally realize that this is something that you have to hold on to.
Yeah.
And I found that as a very telling thing in my life too. I did some touring as a monitor engineer, and that was very much the case. I'd be like, oh, I'm away from the people I do love. And there are moments that you miss because of that, because you're away. That's true. Those are very interesting things. And, how long has Wheeled and Woe now been a thing?
Yeah, so let's see. Wheeled and Woe has been a thing since... I want to say 2017. Like I said, I joined kind of in 2019. Yeah. As it became like a 4-piece of actual contributors as opposed to, a solo project that was doing, going into the studio with session guys. And I kind of started it like as a hired gun, and I thought of myself as like, okay, I'm just like playing the parts that Jeff wrote. And then it kind of evolved into something that kind of melds our two styles a little bit more. Yeah. So,
and Wheeled and Woe, where is it based?
Out of Boise, Idaho. Which is where I'm from originally.
Right. Yeah. So you grew up in Idaho.
Yeah.
Wow. How's it like being now in New York?
In New York. Yeah, it's very, it feels very new still. I've been here almost a year at this point, but it's great. I love it here. Like I said, I'm from Boise. I don't really have bad things to say about Boise. A lot of really good people there. Very cool music scene, and all of that. It was just, I don't know, one of those adventures that you're talking about where you just kind of feel the pull to go do this thing. That was kind of my moving to New York. My wife and I, we both had lived in Idaho pretty much our entire lives and just wanted to try something new. I have a lot of respect for the music scene here, and I think there's just so much cool musical shit going on, and that was one of the big things that pulled me here. So
wow. So did you visit New York beforehand? And so it was kind of for you like, hey, this is kind of where I can see myself planting my feet.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you're in Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is a really, really great place for a lot of music. Yeah. Got some other good friends from Brooklyn who have also been on this show. And awesome. It's very, very cool. You're a guitar player. How long have you been playing guitar? I mean, you're a beast at it.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that.
This guy's amazing.
I'm not. Yeah. I've been playing guitar since I was, I think 14, maybe 15. So like kind of middle school. I started playing at church.
Really?
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
I was into that when I was younger. And, I kind of used to be a little bit more embarrassed of that, like that being part of my musical, growing up. Yeah. But now I just view it as like, well, everybody grows up somewhere. You don't really control the way that you grow up.
Right.
So that was interesting. I was playing in, like worship bands, and my first guitar teacher was my youth pastor at the time. A cool guy who knew how to, strum the acoustic guitar, knew a couple chords. And then I started to sort of like teach myself some of the rock and metal stuff that I was also starting to listen to. And then I was playing in school. I would play in like the jazz combos and stuff like that. So I actually had like a lot of kind of weird disparate influences just like right off the bat.
Right.
But then, I got interested in metal and specifically like the weirder stuff. So I mean, Wheeled and Woe doesn't necessarily reflect the kind of like proggy stuff that I'm into. I have another band called Aterima that's also very a lot more proggy, a lot more heady. And,
awesome.
That's like kind of the stuff that I got into in like high school, like the really just sort of like brainy stuff.
Yeah, the complex.
Complex. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think every metalhead kind of has a phase with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I maybe not every metalhead, maybe it depends on what era you were born in, but for all my friends that were like artists, they were geeking out about like Between the Buried and Me, Dream Theater, King Crimson, like all these, and oh my God, Porcupine Tree. Like those are all things that we just love to listen to.
Yeah, for me, the first time I heard the Animals as Leaders first album.
Oh yeah,
that was a total game changer for me. I was like, "What?"
When KFO came out, I was just like, "Oh god, this is what the hell is this?"
Still unbelievably groundbreaking stuff, and like, and what a lot of that stuff does that I think can get lost in prog is like the I don't know, just like the from the gut nature of metal. And so I'm getting more back to that. I still love the prog stuff, and I like to use complex rhythms and weird ass scales and stuff, but I'm also more gravitating these days toward more of a like I guess just like a devil may care attitude towards like tonality and so focusing more on like the aggression. So I think the product of that, like and again, Wheeled and Woe is sort of a separate deal because it has a very like distilled writing process.
Right.
But yeah, for some of the other stuff that I work on, it's like the result can be very dissonant and very jarring, but is less maybe heady. So I'm kind of getting ahead into like stuff that I'm thinking about and working on in the future that's very nebulous at this point.
So this is a question that I have, because if you're naturally inclined to want to be curious about these things.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, how are you pushing boundaries for yourself in these ways? Because, like, I see that with different types of projects, Wheeled and Woe, Deoza included, you're doing things in a different way. I've listened to the album. I've listened to, what we're working on, and they're different, but they also exude some very similar kind of just mindsets, I think, about music itself. And I'm wondering, what are you doing to push the boundaries of your playing or your musicianship? What do you think about that stuff?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that Wheeled and Woe kind of tries to set itself apart from, and I do think Wheeled and Woe is very unique in a couple ways. Like there are other bands that do the the medieval sounding harmonized guitars. We take a little bit more like aggression and try to inject it into that. And I think that sort of puts that in a slightly different category than some of those other bands out there. And then, just personally for guitar playing, I think it's maybe my nerdiness that just kind of brings out like, I've studied jazz for a while and got very into thinking about verticalities, right? Like thinking about harmonies and, what are the different ways you can like interact melodically with a certain type of harmony, or what's like, if you take a riff, because this is what happens more in metal, is like, we don't always think about what the chord is, right? Sometimes it's just like, there's a riff there. So I like to take that and say, okay, what kind of harmony could be implied here? What kind of harmony would be like just right on the edge of being implied here? And then I might take that approach to writing a lead over that or something like that. So it's all about like subverting expectations, but also sometimes meeting expectations. And, you can go way out here and just be completely random and wild, and you can be completely in the box and in the pocket. So like, I guess some of the fun of being a composer or a musician or soloist or whatever is sort of finding out where you want to be in that.
Right.
Or where you want to move to. Like that can be one way that music moves, is like starting off in a very simple place and becoming more and more complex, or vice versa. So I don't know. That's sort of a couple of things that I think.
Wow. About. And do you attribute also like new instrumentation in your compositions for stuff like that too, or?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, right. I'm also working on composing a video game score for a buddy of mine.
Cool.
Who's a game developer, and it's a really fun challenge. That this particular game is very not. It's not metal. It's not like my normal like extreme kind of thing. And so being able to play around with that, play around with funny different instruments, and it's all digital, but I sent him a new track the other day that had kazoo in it, and he was like, yes, the kazoo.
Oh my God. That's awesome because video game music is it's a real soft spot for me too, because I just grew up on like Zelda, and that was my world for like my entire childhood.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, no shit. So this is really, really awesome because I love this kind of stuff. And I've been trying to do my own like exploratory into or exploration into video game just design. I just recently was a part of this sort of online class. It was like a one-off. But it was just an intro to putting video games and sound together using Unreal. And it blew my mind how crazy this stuff gets. I'm just like, wow, that's just like the next level.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate to that like idea of like it being a challenge because me trying to keep up with the instructor, I'm just like, dude, like I know I do audio for a living, but damn, like this is like a whole nother level of implementation. Yeah. And
I dabble. I mean, I'm by no means an expert on it. I mean, but it is cool how you can sort of like when you write a piece of music that is a standalone piece of music that's meant to be enjoyed as music, or it's meant to be danced to, or it's meant to be moshed to, or even a piece of music that accompanies a film or stagecraft or something like that is the same every time and the timing is the same and it's static. That's an entirely different endeavor than taking a video game where you don't know what's going to happen on screen because you don't know what the player is going to do.
Right.
So being able to have
variables of chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you can have something kind of algorithmic that interacts with what's going on screen in a dynamic way. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, they what do they call it? Vertical orchestration.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And horizontal orchestration where it's like, oh, I don't know, like picture Mario if in the last 60 seconds of the stage, right? It starts to speed up, right? Those are like examples of horizontal, but like vertical would be like, hey, it's like the same theme in, I guess, Hyrule Field and Zelda, but like day to night, the orchestra changes in size and is dynamic that way. So those are very interesting challenges.
Yeah.
I'm still exploring some of that dynamicism myself. It's it's really interesting. Yeah. So, tell me about now, you now in the music scene in New York, how does it differ from a place like Boise?
Yeah, that's such a great question. The truth is I don't really know yet. I still feel like I'm barely dipping my toes into the New York music scene, whereas, I kind of grew up and cut my teeth in the Boise one. So obviously some of the best musicians in the world are here in New York. But that doesn't mean that I'm like, I'm playing with Deoza, which is fantastic. And, you guys are all really great musicians. So that's been very cool. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of it for me is just like I'm still meeting people. I'm still like just existing in this city. And
is it overwhelming?
It is a little bit. I mean, it's the type of thing where you're never gonna really like wrap your whole head around it.
Yeah,
like a scene like Boise, you kind of can. But here, it's like you just the way I think about it is more like you can just like break off as much as you want.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to think about tackling the entire thing or becoming like New York's the next big thing. It's just, find your niche, find your people.
Right.
And, try to work from there. So that's been very fun as like a new adventure.
Yeah. Part of your growth is, being in the network of people.
Yeah.
And I've certainly felt in my own experience, not just in New York, but also growing out of New York and trying to do things that are more globally intertwined. I find that to be an interesting challenge where I've never had to do certain things before, but here I am. I'm forcing myself to put myself out there, right? And I think you relate quite a lot to that too, because you literally packed up and moved to a new city.
Yeah.
With music in mind.
Yeah.
Like that's not really something that you see a lot of people do. It's a brave move to go from a smaller town to a bigger city like that.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was just time to try something new.
Yeah. Did you get a lot of support doing it?
Yeah. I would say like a lot of my friends were very excited for me, happy for me. There's always it's bittersweet, right?
Yeah.
And that goes both ways. I feel also there are things that I miss about Boise in terms of people and all that kind of stuff. But I'm still excited. And I feel like I got a lot of that same kind of energy where like, yeah, I mean, they might be bummed that they can't see me as often, but they're still like, hey, it's something you got to do for your life and like go and do it. And yeah, I think Alethea experienced, my wife Alethea experienced a lot of the same support.
Yeah. And so as a band now, because Wield and Woe is in Boise still.
Yes
right?
and no. So now I'm over here
Right.
on the East Coast, and also Jeff Young, who's the founder of the band, he is on the East Coast now too. He's up in Maine. Yeah. So we have like two of us are over here, and two of us are back west in Boise. So we kind of have like a West Coast outpost and an East Coast outpost.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, how does that work together? I mean, actually, this is kind of a post-pandemic kind of thing, really. How like people coming together outside of just doing local get-togethers. People are using online collaboration. How do you remain active in performing with your group or rehearsals, or how does that look like?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it actually worked out really well just with the way Wield and Woe was already structured.
Yeah.
Like the way we would write is, we write a lot at home, like individually, and kind of send demos back and forth. And, what do you think of this part? And then, okay, I'll take that song and, okay, what do you think of this lead that I just put on top of it? And just kind of do that demo trading thing. Mm-hmm. We were already doing that even when we had rehearsals. And then we would use rehearsal just to work up a set, right? Mm-hmm. Not for writing. Not for, we're not standing in a circle and like collaborating on writing a tune. There's value in that, but that was never like the process that Wield and Woe did. So that means that when we kind of split and went separate ways where it's not even possible for us to regularly meet up and rehearse,
right?
We can still keep the writing engine kind of going. And so I was already over here in Brooklyn, here in New York, when we recorded Far From the Light of Heaven. So I recorded that from home. The other guys recorded it. The only part that we did a professional studio was the drums for that. And then all the guitar and vocals were done, and bass were done from home. And then, we sent it out for a mix and master, a similar process to what we did for the last record. So it still worked really well in spite of the fact that like I moved in the middle of, that album being written. So that worked out pretty well. And then, so we're still kind of in that mode where rehearsal is about the set and it's about working it up for a particular purpose. So we went out in May to go play a one-off, to go play a festival in Seattle called Northwest Terror Fest. And so I flew back to Boise and Jeff flew back to Boise. We, for a few days, just did kind of intensive rehearsals just to get ready for that fest. And then went over and did the fest.
Great.
And yeah,
how was the
fantastic. Fest? That fest was really awesome. Super cool. Got to play with a lot of musicians I really look up to. Like Gorguts played that one.
Wow.
And, that was a really good time. So we kind of, that worked really well. So we used that same model to go on tour in August. And that was our Far From the Light of Heaven tour. We played that whole album front to back and then a couple of the older ones on every show on that tour. And so, we did the same thing. Jeff and I flew west to Boise for about a week. We rehearsed for that tour. And then we left and did a 2-week tour, 16-day, 15-show West Coast tour.
Wow.
So, and then, that was a blast. And I want
to
do more of that. So, that's kind of how the rhythm's been working.
So when you do your rehearsals or even when you do practice on your own, what does that look like in process for you as a guitarist? Because a lot of our audience here, you guys a ton of them are guitarists. Yeah. And they're always really interested, I think, in how other guitarists are doing it. What's the mindset for you when you get into a rehearsal or a practice? Yeah.
Well, they're definitely different mindsets. So the practice mindset is I'm probably going to work a lot on repertoire. So I'm going to work a lot on the music that I'm trying to get ready to play soon.
Right.
But before that, I'm going to work on technique stuff. So whatever it is, like I'll usually focus for like a few weeks at a time on, on a certain concept. Like maybe it's these scale fragments, maybe it's these certain sweep picking patterns. And so every day I'll generally do that in one key or another, and try to take note of what tempo I'm practicing that at, always to a click. When I practice, I'm always just headphones on in the DAW. And so I can record anything I need to record. I'm always, keeping track of what my tempos are. And that just works really well for me as a workflow. And then, once I'm done with the technical stuff, I'll move on into, working on whatever music I'm trying to get ready to play, whether that's Deo's stuff or Will and Woe stuff. It shifts around depending on what's going on, of course. I'll generally, like, if I have a, for example, for that Wheel and Woe tour, we had the whole set, kind of in a DAW project. And so basically I just dropped that in, and any points that I needed to really work on or slow down, I could actually, slow down those tempos and play along, but then ultimately just wanting to be playing through the whole set, warts and all, not turning back when you mess up. Right. It's like you're not going to do that on stage. So
that's true.
When you're practicing in that mode where it's like you really want to get it under your fingers as a full performance, you can't be turning back. And then after it's done, okay, what was that problem spot? Let me take that down a couple of BPM and really figure out.
Making a mental note.
Yeah, make a mental note.
Right.
And then come back and really woodshed that. But rehearsals are really more of the full band version of the run through it, don't look back sort of situation. And even like with those mental notes, so run the set a couple of times as if you were on stage. Try to, if you've got the music learned to a certain point, try to move around like you would on stage. Try to, not just be a boring, staring at the fretboard.
Gargoyles.
Gargoyles. Run through the set a couple of times, and then if you had problem spots as a group, we kind of like fell out of a groove here, or I think we can be more expressive here, or like, what if we got louder here? You can go back and kind of work those sections. Yeah. And I think that's also a very valuable part of rehearsal. You can run into trouble running rehearsals that are just like, okay, we run the 100%. set, and then we leave. It's like, well, maybe we missed some stuff that we could have actually like worked on. And that's not learning your part. That's not like everybody didn't know their stuff. It was like it didn't gel the way we wanted it to, like as a group. Something that you can't practice on your own.
Yeah. That's a super great point. We need to always be aware of that. This is playing with people, and isolated with a track that's pre-made and will always be consistent 100% of the time is very different than playing with people who sometimes have a lack of confidence in the moment when, they're trying to see what you're going to do because maybe you want to do a little improv or embellishment in this point, and that's not quite the same exact thing that they heard on the track, right? And those are the beautiful moments in music because it's live, it's in the moment. Right. And you're right. You can't replicate that. You have to really do it with people. And that's where you guys, don't just stay in your basements alone. Go out and actually like play with people. And, for those of you who are
in your basement.
Yeah. With someone else in your basement. I love open mics. Open mics were always a really good thing when I was first starting out, especially. Nowadays, I feel like I found a lot of like who my crew is, and we get to really just kind of work out the things that we want to really work out while we're at rehearsal here in the studio. But what you're talking about is very important. And I'm also curious here because you come in to rehearsal with an Axe FX. And I'm wondering, is the Axe FX the choice because it's repeatable, or, do you like have a thing against tubes, or?
I'm nothing against tubes. I'm not really a gearhead. A lot of guitarists are. So I might get roasted in the comments for this or whatever, but I find the Axe FX, and I use the AX8, like the stomp box sort of version of it. where you can edit things in the computer and all that. I find it to be really easy for things like that. I mean, coming out to Queens for rehearsals where, I got to take 3 trains and a bus to get here, is I'm not lugging my tube amp for something like that. That's one strength. Repeatable is definitely another strength. You can flip that on. It's always going to be the same. You can save presets.
Right.
And you can, the other thing is I've played on festivals where you get a little bit of dirty power. And you talk to other bands that are like using their real amps, and they're pissed because 1, the amp might be damaged, and 2, it didn't sound the way that they wanted it to sound on stage. And you don't run into that problem with modelers. One thing that there's always drawbacks, right? So, I mean, when you play live with a modeler in certain clubs, you're going to have problems with like front fill.
Right.
So a lot of times I'll have a cab on stage, like Wheeled and Woe. Both Jeff and I use modelers. And in fact, we use just one Axe FX for our touring rig. But we also travel with cabs. And we'll put those on stage in certain clubs where we think, okay, somebody's going to be standing under the mains. They're not going to hear any guitar. They're just going to hear the drums, or whatever the case may be. So you have to be adaptable with it. But I have nothing against tubes. I love tubes. The first thing I did when I got my AX8 was model my exact rig that I was playing at the time.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, so I was playing through a PV6505 Plus head with Carvin Vi Legacy 4x12 cab.
Nice.
And so I just used the available models of that exact stuff, and then like the exact pedals that I was using, a very similar Tube Screamer kind of clone to shape the tone, and just, I'm very utilitarian about it. But it does make it, the other thing that's really nice about modeling is, like, if you've ever thought about testing some pedal that, what would it be like if I introduced this to my rig? You don't have to go out and spend the $200 on the new pedal. You can just test it a few different ways, test it different places in your chain, really easily, and say, oh yeah, maybe that wasn't for me, or yeah, that was, and I maybe wouldn't have gone out and bought the pedal, so I wouldn't have found that otherwise. So you can test different things. I think one of the criticisms of like digital amps, digital effects, is that you can go down a constant rabbit hole of tweaking, and I think you can do that with analog too.
Definitely.
And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people spend a lot of money on different pedals. And every time you add a pedal and a patch cable and a power supply, you're introducing a new like possible point of failure on your live gig. So I'm definitely a proponent of the digital thing, but it's no hate to the tube crowd.
Yeah, no, I hear it. I unfortunately can't get the same experience, I think, with drums.
Yeah,
I am envious of you.
Yeah.
I have an electronic drum set over here, but it is by no means sound the same as the real thing. So, but that is c'est la vie, right? I chose that, vice a long time ago, and there's no going back now. So we just own that. But that's very cool, because actually it's kind of refreshing to hear that, because it actually just kind of simplifies the idea of what you're doing this all for. I mean, it shouldn't be about the gear. It should be about the music. And if the gear serves the music, that's all that matters, right? And I love that. Now, in your performances out in just on your tours, what are you guys rocking for, just like your show in general? Do you guys bring your own lighting? Do you guys bring like merch and all that kind of stuff? Or what does that look like for you guys as a touring band? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. So all of our tours thus far have been very DIY.
And I think a lot of indies, that's cool.
Yeah, and when I say DIY, it is really you're doing it yourself. Like, it is, you're lugging all of your merch, all your gear. We didn't have roadies. We don't travel with a sound person. So we travel with our sound rack that has, our in-ear rig, the Axe FX, and all of that. And that basically kind of is the hub of like our of the sound side of our live show. We travel with. The only thing we really do on lighting is we have some fog machines that are lighted. So 2 fog machines on the front of the stage, and these ones are cool because when you trigger them, they'll do a burst of fog, but there's light underneath the fog, so it kind of looks like yellow or green flames, kind of like shooting up. So those are really cool.
Stereo fog machines.
Stereo, exactly. And those are really fun and easy to carry around. But yeah, nice. We don't do like an extensive light thing. We usually let the house do that, if they want to run more than that. And a lot of times they will. And then merch. Yeah, definitely merch is a very important part of touring and being able to break even, financially. Yeah. So we bring a lot of different merch options.
Any lessons you've learned on the road about merch and things for the audience maybe you want to share?
Yeah, let's see. Bring enough merch because, like I said, that's where really you're going to make the most margin. So you've got your guarantees and then you've got your merch. That's pretty much your only income sources on tour. So if you run out of something, you're losing out on opportunities to like make some of that money back on. And so it can be really hard to estimate how much merch you're going to sell, but yeah, bring enough merch options also, because not everybody wants that one black t-shirt design. Have a few different shirt designs and then a few things that are on the cheaper end. So, patches in the metal world, people love their patches. Those are incredibly cheap to get made. I love selling patches because there's something so tangible about it that people really like to have it.
Yeah.
They're very inexpensive, but they're very evocative of like your band. So if you get some cool artwork on a patch, definitely do that. I've seen cool stuff like lighters or magnets, things of that nature.
I like those
like on the smaller side
because they kind of also have like a bit of a utility to them too. Yeah. That's actually kind of useful, right? How many of us in the metal world are smoking freaking marijuana? Yeah, so it's just like here's a lighter with your band logo on it, right? And it's brilliant because it's like, oh yeah, I remember like that was a cool band and.
Right. Grinders is another idea. Like
grinders, right? Yeah. You have, even hand sanitizers.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
Those are other kinds of ideas. I like functional, merch like that. And they're also like small enough where, if someone doesn't have the money for something else, you can be, here, just take it, on us and bring a friend next time and we'll give you a discount or something, totally. Right?
Yeah. And they'll, if they were really into you, they'll have an even more positive feeling about their interaction with you. Also, physicals of music,
Yes.
Whether that's CDs, tapes, vinyl. I mean, the black metal world loves tapes, like cassette tapes for whatever reason. So bring a bunch of those. They're pretty inexpensive too. I will note that like a lot of the actual plastic cases will break on tour. They're like extremely cheap. So you can, if you need to, halfway through your tour, get a pack of them and replace a few of the broken ones and things like that. It's another thing where if somebody's like, oh, I don't have the cash on me, it's like, okay, we'll take the broken tape or whatever it is,
it's kind of like, what do they call them? Just like throwaways, it's always going to be a risk. You're going to be traveling, right? These things, they're made out of these plastic cases that they just can crack.
Yeah.
Do you guys also do vinyl yourselves or how is vinyl production for you like? And do you find that, that's where you get most of your sales is on vinyl or what do you think about those?
I wouldn't say most, but it's high impact, right? Like people are I feel like when somebody buys a record on vinyl, it just creates kind of a symbolic attachment to that band. They have this thing. It's the biggest piece of artwork that you can get related to that band in terms of physical, music media. Definitely not the majority of our sales. We've done vinyl always through our label. Our last 2 albums were released through Fia Productions, who's actually based here. They're kind of a black metal label. Really cool. Shout out to Barry Ann. Hey. So we've done partnerships with labels and then different vinyl manufacturers to do that. So I'm not in the weeds on what that production is necessarily like, but it's always super nice to have them. They're very sought after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in the, I don't know, last time I look at the statistics of the RIAA, vinyl has been it's still on its highest for like 20 years in a row.
Still rising.
Wow. Yeah. And it takes up the majority of physical sales. And I'm wondering, like, on an independent level, how the merch that's being sold to, majors versus like, people on their own, what does that look like in the difference? Because I think for us, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a little harder to get those sorts of kinds of manufacturing deals where you can do it at a certain like price point, right? So we typically spend more, which means we have to charge more, right? But
smaller runs are always going to be more expensive per,
right?
Yeah.
So do you find that is a challenge in being an indie band, or do you find that people generally they want to support?
People do want to support, and yes, we get people coming up to the merch booth. It's always
amazing,
fun, and kind of like I don't know, just affirming when somebody comes up to the merch booth and is kind of looking around and they're like, "Oh, I have that," and they're trying to figure out what they don't have yet, and it's someone you don't know. It's like that that feels good,
Cool.
It's like I want to get to know you, but it's not your pal that just bought everything because they want to support you. It's somebody who's actually a fan of the music,
Wow.
So that's cool to see. But and that's the other reason to have options. When you tour as a small band, you want to be visiting markets multiple times, right? Because you go once, you play an awesome show, and all the people you played to ideally are going to go tell their friends about you. If you come back through, you hope to get a bigger crowd, right? That's still excited about you, and so having more merch options and not just the same stuff every time, gives people an opportunity to like get something they don't have, and they're like,
and keep things fresh.
Yeah,
and it's exciting, right? So it's like, oh man, Will the Will's playing, and oh my god, now they have this.
Yeah,
and that's it makes it a little bit special. Like I love, like that's why I think specialized tour T-shirts are a great option because it's like. It's only exclusive to that tour.
Yeah.
So that's a way to keep things fresh.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Like if somebody's city name is on the back of the T-shirt, that might be.
It's like I was there. I was at that show, and it's a really really cool way. I mean, like the majors have been doing it forever, I think it's a really smart way for an indie band to also kind of learn from that and apply that. That's very 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 cool. So now as a player in like Deoza, like tell me how like Deoza is like different from things that you've done, or is it similar to things that you've done too?
It's similar in a couple ways to some things that I've done. In a way, it's sort of like when I started off with Wheeled and Woe, like I said, I was playing parts that had already been written,
right? And
I was just showing up to be the live guitar guy, so I was learning parts that were kind of given to me, and that's kind of in the situation in Deoza is, Elizabeth wrote the majority of the parts and is just kind of handing them down. And in a way, I like that kind of setup. It's good for me as a musician to, practice my reading skills and interpretation and all of that kind of stuff. So it's similar in that way. Stylistically, I think it's very unique. I don't think I've really played in a band that sounds really anything like Deoza, but that's a good thing. Although like some of the just approaches, there's a little bit of a jazz approach that's something I'm kind of familiar with. There's a little bit of a metal approach. Interestingly, I would say that the parts that I'm less familiar with, just in terms of like experience of playing, are the more like straightforward rock and roll parts. You know what I mean?
That's like the backwards answer that I was expecting. But, actually, now that you've mentioned it, I can see that because you're so into these like really eclectic pieces of music that you love the complexity about it.
Right.
And so playing the simple stuff is kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I mean, when I was in high school, I was obsessed with trying to be like Mike Portnoy. So I was just like, I was like, and then you're just like, oh, right. But then you listen to Danny Seraphin from like Chicago, and he's just like,
Yeah.
and he's like, you just got to keep it like that. I'm just like,
you got to have the feel down. Like before you,
it's
before
all
you get
about
fancy,
feel and pocket groove,
right.
and that's a whole other skill. So that's an amazing challenge to overcome as a musician. And I think it's incredibly important as like being a musician that you guys like remember to push those other kinds of boundaries for you, because then if you get too comfortable, I think, in just one style, then how do you actually discover something new?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best pieces of advice that I've heard is like, if you have a figure that repeats, like you're playing this loop of chords, or you're playing this riff that goes on 4 times or 8 times, it shouldn't be the same every time, right? You should be trying to go somewhere, right? Are we growing? Are we growing toward the middle and then we're, tapering off? Is it getting more aggressive? Is it getting more loose? Think about what artistically you can do with the dynamics, right? Because the notes are there.
Right.
The notes are going to be the same, but what else can we do like that injects musicality into it, even if we were just repeating a simple phrase,
right?
Yeah.
And this has been an amazing conversation. Brent, do you have any like sort of things you want to say to the audience for a closing part of this conversation?
What do they like to hear?
Well, you know what? This is sort of like, I guess, a part where you could say kind of anything you'd want, but I feel is a lot of our audience kind of appreciates some philosophy. Is there maybe something that you've kind of lived by in your career or your life that you kind of hold on to as truth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say try to seek adventure, try to seek new things. Don't tie yourself down too much. Like I feel like something that can happen a lot is people get something and they say, I am this. Mm-hmm. Right? You can take something and identify with it. I am a musician, or I am somebody who does this. When you make that into yourself, what you kind of do is you sort of block yourself off from other opportunities. And I guess I would caution against that, because life has so many different things to offer you. And your life now probably doesn't look the same way that it did 10 years ago or 10 years before that. And that's a good thing. You'll live a lot of different lives in your one life. And so just embrace that, embrace change and adventure. And if you're a musician, go out and play shows, go out on tour, just try to make the thing happen.
Wow. Yeah. Brent, Ruddy, everybody. Thank you, my man. And don't forget, Wield and Woe, we have here, Far From the Light of Heaven, just came out this past July 4th, and go and check it out on, I'm assuming, anywhere on streaming. And you guys also have a Bandcamp, right?
We do. Yep.
Bandcamp.com / Wield and Woe.
Yeah, Wield and Woe.
All right. So make sure you check it out. And of course, everybody, here at Metal Mastermind, we love to educate the rock and metal musician. So if you're looking for those kinds of resources, whether that's learning about, sweep picking or getting into the business of music, which we do actually have a new course on the way, something by the name of War Machine merchandise, actually. Nice. So we'll have some really, really cool updates to you on Spectre Academy, where you can find all of our courses. So metalmastermind.com for any resources that you're looking for, and spectreacademy.net to check out all those resources, just like courses, in order to help improve your skills. Again, thanks, Ruddy.
Hey.
I really do appreciate it. So Brent, you are an amazing individual. I just want to really thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here, Ken.
All right.
Thanks for the conversation.
Always remember, everybody, to create your own sound.